According to Robert's Rule of Order, I'm going to call this meeting into session. May I get a nomination for a chair pro tem?
I make a motion to nominate Megan Hendricks as the pro tem.
Okay, may I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Hendricks, Madam Chair, you will take over the meeting.
Okay, we call this special meeting to order at, what time is it?
12:01.
12:01. Let's stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, thank you.
We do public comments before we get started, right? We have public comment, 3 public comments. BJ, I can't read the first
Okay.
one.
I was once in your all's seat, so I understand. I think BJ spoke. I have nothing to say right now. I just, my comment is be important.
Okay.
What I was going to say is nothing can be said right now.
Okay, well, this is the time for
I'm-
public comment.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Okay, thank you. Tara Brinegar? Okay, would you like to come forward?
I would, thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I only have 2 questions right now at this time. The first one being, is there a particular reason this meeting was scheduled at this time and not at a later date when more people from the public could attend? There's a lot of people that are at work right now. The meeting was canceled from yesterday morning, I'm assuming because there was no public comment on the agenda, and that's why this was rescheduled now with the public comment now added. But is there a reason why it's in the middle of the day when most nobody can attend? What was the reason for this time?
I think this was a housekeeping measure, and we have had meetings in the past to order, where huge purchases were being made in the middle of the day to approve those purchases, and I just think it worked for the majority of the board, and we decided to proceed.
So, not to be overly negative, but what works for the board doesn't always work for your constituents in all districts. And maybe that should be taken into consideration next time before you make such a large decision on something that affects the taxpayers and the dollars that are contributing to the hiring of these new services. The second thing is, it was said in a previous meeting that majority of the board members don't want an attorney present. Right now, there is a petition circulating within the county that the citizens of Clark County do want an attorney present at every meeting because they do not have faith in the current board. And I will be downloading a list of all signatures and the numbers and send them to you for your consideration. Because I don't think you should ignore the voices out there in this county. We are paying for the attorney. You guys are working for the county. That's just straight up truth. You should listen to what's out there and just be open to hearing the public. Just because they can't be here doesn't mean you shouldn't listen. And that leads me to my other question. With White, Peck, and Carrington, are they going to provide an attorney to be here at every meeting? Is that within the contract scope?
If we choose so, yes.
Okay, so they will do that.
It is not something that they do not want to do. It is the discretion of the board. So, yes.
But you all will be open to listening to the comments of the community on that. And if majority of the community wants an attorney here, would you agree with the district or go off on your own?
Very much.
With our constituents.
That is all I had a question about.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Nina Honaker?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm good. A little bit frustrated, but all in all, pretty good. I currently have 2 children that go to the school district here, and had one that graduated in 2017. I myself graduated in 1997 from GRC. So I've been a part of the community for a very, very long time. I'm here today because I want to speak to you in regards to hiring a new attorney to represent this board. I do not think as a board, you have clearly communicated to the taxpayers the reasoning behind wanting a new attorney to represent this board. As a taxpayer, this is what I see. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. What did Mr. Thomas do? Was it something unethical? Was it something illegal? Because that's that'll end this conversation right here. Because if he done something wrong, I'm not gonna be here to represent, I'm not gonna be here to represent, what I don't agree with. So did he do something unethical or illegal?
I'm under the opinion that this is not the time to discuss that. I think there are a lot of moving parts. I can say that the majority of us clearly did not feel comfortable, and we chose to proceed that way. But take from it what you will. That's the approach at this time.
Okay. Do all of you all feel that same way?
I do.
Okay. I'm assuming you feel the same way.
Yes, but maybe not for the reasons that you suspect.
Okay. See, I don't even know what you're talking about when I suspect. All I know is that we're here to talk about hiring an attorney, so that makes me think there's an underlying reason.
No, ma'am.
Okay. From the eyes of a parent and as a taxpayer, I feel like maybe you guys are just upset at Mr. Thomas because he did his job. He filed an ethics complaint with the Attorney General's office, which is what he was hired to do, right? He's hired to protect this board and the people sitting at that table, right? If he hadn't filed that complaint, we'd be having a totally different conversation today about Mr. Thomas, because I would want to know why he didn't file that complaint. From the eyes of a taxpayer and a parent, you 3 have clearly collaborated against Mr. Thomas and against the community of Clark County. Let's talk about the interview. I was here Monday night, if that's what you want to call it, an interview. I was appalled at first, just by the way you handled the interview. Only 2 of you asked questions, and it was you 2. I think you had 1 question. And Ms. Richardson, you were just sitting on the edge of your seat to make that motion to hire White, Peck, and Carrington. And you quickly seconded it. So that tells me that you all had talked about this before the meeting. Nobody makes a decision that quickly on something that is so important, not to you, but to us, the parents, the community, the people that hired you to do a job that you clearly are not capable of doing. This is what I took from the interviews on Monday night. I took from the interview that Mr. Thomas is going to charge $80 an hour. And he's not going to charge for mileage or training or any seminars that he attends because he thinks the money should be spent on our children. Our children. Your children. Everybody's children that goes to school here in this district. Mr. Thomas said he had over 20 years of experience. Several of those have been dedicated to school boards and even the Christian school, Calvary Christian School Board. He had a qualified resume for the position. Let's talk about White, Peck, and Carrington. She's going to charge you $200 an hour. And will charge for mileage anything outside of Winchester. That's what I heard. And probably bill for anything else she can at $200 an hour. I believe she said she had 10 years experience, not representing a board, not representing a school district. But her partner did. I don't think she was here Monday night. I think she was off representing another board. I also heard her say that, since she charges $200 an hour, she won't have to attend the meetings. Well, let me just say, with the track record this board has had, I'd recommend that she attends every meeting. Or the AG's office better hire some additional help. Maybe your judgment was clouded, or perhaps you forgot who you worked for. I just want to remind you all that you all work for the taxpayers of Clark County. We hired you. We elected you to do a job. And you are failing at that job. Because, I hope you're listening. I agree with what Tara said. You all scheduled this meeting in the middle of the day so that people couldn't be here. Congratulations, you win. But I hope, first of all, Dr. McComas, I have a question for you specifically. And if you don't want to answer it, I completely understand. But, you haven't made any public comments on how you feel about this, right? And maybe you can't. Maybe there's legal reasons why you can't. Maybe there's reason, maybe you feel like you can't say anything. Maybe you feel like you have to stay silent. And if you're choosing to stay silent, then I apologize to you. I apologize to you that we elected these individuals to sit behind this table and represent Clark County, and that you don't feel like you can speak up, and that you have walked in to Clark County in this mess. This is not who we are. I've lived here 40 years. This is not Clark County. This is not what Clark County representation and leadership looks like, nor should it. You will have a high school senior, Mr. Harris, sitting at the table. You should be leading by example. This is not an example. Last thing I want to say before you make a motion to accept the contract that no one has seen from White Peck and Carrington, but probably you three. I'm going to ask you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, if you're sitting in those chairs and you like representing Clark County and the kids of this school, then I'm going to ask you to think about what you're about to do. Because if you vote to accept this contract with White Peck and Carrington, those seats at the table won't be there after the next election. I can promise you that. I will work hard to make sure that doesn't happen. We should be standing with the kids, protecting the kids. This is not protecting the kids. You guys are spending our money, our taxpayers' money, the taxes that you just raised. You're spending it like monopoly money. And I'm very upset, as I'm sure you can tell, because these are my kids, and it's my kids' future, and my grandkids' future. So I really hope that you take into consideration and think about it, and stop, and pause, and listen to the community before you continue on and accept this contract.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I speak now? Is everyone on the list? I'd like to speak, if that's possible.
Sure.
He's on the list.
He's on.
My name is on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Come on up. Absolutely.
I need some clarification. Been 9 years since I was up here, so y'all bear with me just a second. According to Robert's Rules of Order, if neither the president, if neither the chairman nor vice chair is present, the secretary or secretary's absence, some order should call the meeting order, which is correct. On a regular meeting, what is the rules for a special call meeting?
Our meetings are following Robert's Rule of Order as per
Yes, ma'am.
board policy.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a meeting. It
Yes,
will be
ma'am.
following Robert's Rule
But
of
it's a
Order.
special call meeting, not a regular scheduled meeting. There is a difference. I know. The regular scheduled meeting, a board member may add items to the agenda.
If I
Special
may,
call meeting, I need some clarification.
yeah.
Legal,
And
thank you.
if I may, sir, Robert's Rules of Order are not specific with regard to special or general called meetings. The board's policies are,
Yes, ma'am.
but Robert's Rules of Order would apply to any and all meetings.
Yes, ma'am. So, special call meeting, when I was sitting here 9 years ago, it was, the agenda was as printed prior 24 hours.
Yes, sir.
Has that changed since? Because technically, you went when you asked for a chairperson or a voice, you went off the agenda.
We're following Robert.
I know, I'm well aware of that, ma'am. I'm just asking some clarification.
Yeah, I'm trying to provide it to you. We were following
Yes,
Robert's
ma'am.
rule of order
Yes, ma'am.
per our policy, and it applies to these meetings.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to say, I was that side. And I remember there's decisions you make you can't really say. Some still eat my gut 9 years later. So I just want some clarification, but while I sit back there and I reread this a couple times, and I just want some clarification before, during my allotted time. And I understand you're following Robert's Rule of Order, and it doesn't really specify, but technically, if you're asking for a spokesperson, or if it's a chair or a spokesperson for this meeting, I would be understanding that you've been going off the agenda. I mean, I just want some clarification, that's,
Yeah, I think.
and that's what I think the public wants too, is like, okay, the 12 o'clock, one's quarantined, and I think the one it has business in it. He could not be here, either one could be here. That's why I want to ask some clarification. I said, I understand that the next rule of thumb is you're in charge of the meeting. That's why I'm asking, if,
I'm not in charge of the meeting.
yes, ma'am.
As secretary, I call the
Yes,
meeting to
ma'am.
order,
Yes, ma'am.
and therefore the chair pro tem is in
Yes,
charge
ma'am.
of the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
On a regular scheduled meeting.
I don't think there's a differentiation, sir.
Okay.
And where Robert's rule of order is concerned, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was just asking because I couldn't remember if it was board policy or Robert's Rule of Order, whichever one of the two.
Robert's rule of
Well,
order.
that's before you ask,
is-
that's what it's like, before you all go any further with your,
I follow.
yeah,
We understand.
I've been on hot seat on more than once.
I remember.
Yeah, meetings. 01.4, rules of order. The board shall observe Robert's rule of order, except the chairperson may make a second motion that may vote all matters before the board or otherwise provided by law, and it's meetings,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
special or open.
Okay,
So we're following board policy for Robert's rule of order to apply to meetings,
Okay.
and this is a meeting.
and my interpretation 9 years ago was a little different, so, okay.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, if that is all public comments, we will move to the first item of business, which is to adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Second order of business, internal board business, consider approval to discontinue legal services with Grant Rose and Humphrey, provide written notice of termination of the contract. Is there any discussion? If no discussion, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to consider the approval to discontinue legal services with Grant Rose and Humphrey and provide written notice of termination of the contract.
I'll second that. A motion and a second. Do we have a vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No. Motion carries 3-0. Third order of business, consider approval to execute contract for legal services with the firm White Peck Carrington. Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion to consider approval of the contract for legal services with White Peck and Carrington.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. This meeting's adjourned at 12:19.